The memorial, if you haven't been there, is divided into two areas, the Pacific and the Atlantic. And there are pools of water with fountains. And in the coping around the pools are emblems, bronze emblems of the major battles in the Atlantic Theater and the Pacific Theater. And the first emblem that's embedded is entitled The Battle of the Atlantic, and the second one is the Merrimack's Run, which Winston Churchill identified as the most dangerous journey in the world at that time. Now, anytime you talk about the Battle of the Atlantic, you have to introduce what the British called Ultra, and that was the name that they gave to all of the intelligence that came forth from their decryption of the German codes. And this, in MI6, the British intelligence area, had their headquarters in an estate called Bletchley Park. And that's where all of the operations were conducted for the breaking of the German codes. These are three Polish mathematicians that worked for the Polish government. They cracked the German codes on the Enigma machine in 1932. In 1939, and you have to be aware that the Germans kept upgrading the Enigma machines and their coding. And the Polish government just didn't have enough money to keep up with all that. But in August of 1939, fearing that the Germans were going to invade, the Polish government gave all of the information that they had to the French and the British. It was the basis for the British effort to break the code. That's a picture of the German Enigma machine. This is one of the heroes, Alan Turing. And you might know a lot about Alan Turing, but he was the math professor from Cambridge University. He took on breaking the Kriegsmarine code, which was much more difficult to break than the Army or the Luftwaffe. This is a picture of the first, what they called Turing machines, that actually, it's a computer. It's an early computer that was used to decipher the codes. Just to give you a idea of the scope of the activity here at Bletchley Park, that in 1945, when at the conclusion of the war, there were 200 of these Turing machines operating in and around Bletchley Park. The second hero that I'd like to introduce to you is Daniel V. Gallery. He's from a family of 6. He has 3 brothers. This is Philip and this is William. You can see that they have the midshipman's insignia. They are in the Naval Academy. So here is a family that has provided 3 sons to the Naval Academy, and each of them will distinguish themselves in the Second World War, and they will all retire as rear admirals. Very unusual. This is John. He's the youngest. John will become a Catholic priest. He will serve in the United States Navy as a chaplain. December the 10th, 1941, Gallery is appointed as the commanding officer of the Fleet Air Base in Reykjavik, and he has a squadron of PBY Catalinas. Gallery is very, very frustrated as a commander. The radar that they have on these aircraft in 1941 is, I'll refer to it for you as the Mark II. The pilots say that the Mark II radar is absolutely worthless. They cannot pick up a German submarine on the surface at night. And of course, at night, all the German submarines came to the surface to recharge their battery, and to ventilate the boat. And Gallery can't do anything about it, and he's extremely frustrated. But at any rate, during his tour of duty on Iceland, VP-73 will sink 20 German U-boats. Gallery is awarded the Bronze Star, and he is then given command of Hunter-Killer Task Group 22.3. And he departs Iceland for Seattle to pick up his command. And he has one thought that stays with him, and that is, I'm going to capture one on the surface. The first nighttime recovery of aircraft is experienced on Gallery's first patrol. On the 16th of January, 1944, Ultra advises Sink Lank that there are 4 German submarines in the area off the Azore Islands going on a refueling exercise. So Gallery puts 8 Avengers into the air, and their assignment was, or their mission was, to return to the Guadalcanal. His ship is the USS Guadalcanal. Return to the Guadalcanal before sunset. All right, 2 of the Avengers are returning to the Guadalcanal, and they come on 3 German submarines. There is a refueling submarine in the process of refueling 1 German submarine, and then there's another about 200 yards off who is waiting to be refueled next. They come down, salvo depth charges, and sink both the refueling ship and the one being refueled. When they circle back, the third one has submerged. Well, then all other 6 aircraft that have been launched, they want to come and see the kill. And there's a lot of debris in the water. There are 30 German seamen in the water, and they all sort of linger there. The commander, the squadron commander, orders them back, and they linger and they linger. And when they come back, it is beyond twilight. It is dead dark. They are able to recover the first 4 aircraft. The 5th aircraft comes in too far to starboard, takes a bounce to the left, or again to starboard, and lodges one of its wheels into the Gallery along the side of the Guadalcanal. The crew works for an hour to try to get the aircraft dislodged, and to no avail. And the other aircraft that are still in the air are beginning to run low on fuel. So Gallery talks to the pilots and says, that the tail and the wing are not protruding into the landing zone to any great degree. If you land smack in the center, you're going to be okay. Well, the first one that comes in is too far to port, and he bounces, flips over on his back, slides off the carrier into the sea. And the DDE, which is the rescue DDE, recovers all three. And by this time, Gallery just makes the decision that there's not going to go through any more recovery. He instructs the pilots to ditch in the ocean, and contrary to all the rules, he lights up the landing area with every searchlight they have. And they recovered both of those aircraft, and no loss of life. So it was quite a learning experience for the task group. Lieutenant Albert David will be awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for his bravery. He will die of a heart attack on the 17th of September 1945, 3 weeks before he is supposed to receive the medal. And Harry Truman gives his medal posthumously to his widow, Linda May David. Kinnispel and Wadakchi are awarded the Navy Cross. Trezino was recommended by Gallery for the Naval Cross, but he gets the Legion of Merit. The book was dedicated to Flight Sergeant Silcock and his crew. I just want to list their names for you. It's Flight Sergeant Ronald Silcock, Royal Australian Air Force; P.G. Nelson, Flight Sergeant, Royal New Zealand Air Force; R. Miller, Sergeant, Royal Air Force; W. Skinner, Sergeant, Royal Air Force; and Harold L. Drew, Seaman First Class, United States Navy, who flew with them as an observer on the 10th of November, 1942.